All right, welcome, plant detectives. We've got a really important case to crack today, and we're going to do it together. We are diving deep to uncover the secrets of one of the most common, and let's be honest, frustrating pests to ever find its way onto a houseplant.
You know, every great detective story always starts with a mystery. And in our world, the world of houseplants, that mystery usually kicks off when you look over at one of your green friends and just think, something is not right here. I mean, you've been giving it water, it's got plenty of sunlight, but something's definitely wrong. Maybe the leaves look a little faded, almost kind of grayish, and there's this weird dusty film on them that you just can't seem to wipe away. If that sounds at all familiar, well, you might have a tiny troublemaker on your hands.
Okay, it is time to meet our prime suspect. Now, I gotta warn you, they are tiny, they multiply at a speed that is just astonishing, and they are absolute masters of disguise. So yeah, this is a particularly tough case to solve.
So, our culprits, spider mites, have a little secret. They're not even insects. Nope. They're arachnids, so they're related to spiders and ticks. The one you'll see most often is the two-spotted spider mite. Just picture them as these microscopic little vampires piercing into the plant cells to drain all the chlorophyll. That's the very lifeblood of the leaf. So you might be asking, why now? Why my plant? Well, spider mites absolutely thrive in very specific conditions. Your warm, dry house, especially in the winter when you've got the heat blasting, that's basically a five-star resort for them. They also love to target plants that are already a little stressed out from not enough water or plants with dusty leaves, which gives them the perfect place to hide. And get this, they are unbelievably fast. When the conditions are just right, hot and dry, a spider mite can go from a teeny tiny egg to a full-on reproducing adult in as little as 5 days. A single female can lay hundreds of eggs, so you can see how a small problem can become a massive infestation before you even know what's happening. The difference here is just, wow, it's stark. On one side, you have a healthy, vibrant green leaf full of life. And on the other, a leaf that's completely under attack. It's pale, it's covered in all those little spots, and it just looks totally drained of all its energy. This right here is the calling card of our suspects. Okay, so how do we actually prove these tiny terrors are on your plant? We can't just go pointing fingers without any evidence. It's time to put on our detective hats and really start looking for clues. First things first, you gotta know where to search. Don't waste your time looking on the top of the leaves and forget about the soil. Spider mites almost always hang out on the undersides of the leaves. That's where they're protected. It's their base of operations. Here are the 3 definitive clues you need to look for. First is stippling. That's the pattern of tiny little dots you see on the leaf's surface. Imagine someone took a tiny pin and just pricked the leaf thousands of times, draining the color out. That's the damage from them feeding. Then you've got webbing. This is the most famous sign, but I gotta warn you, if you see webs, the infestation is already pretty bad. And finally, the paper test. Hold a white sheet of paper under a leaf, give it a good tap, and just watch for tiny specks to fall and start moving around. If they do, case confirmed. All right, now that we know how to spot them, let's talk prevention. You know, the best way to win this fight is to make sure it never even starts. It is time to build a protective force field around your beloved plants.
Prevention is really all about making your plant a place spider mites just don't want to live. They love it when it's dusty, so regularly wiping the leaves down gets rid of their cover. They absolutely hate moisture, so cranking up the humidity with a mister really helps to keep them away. A healthy, properly watered plant can also fight them off better. And the most important thing? Weekly inspections. That's how you'll catch any new arrivals early. You might be wondering, where do these things even come from? Well, they can be stowaways on your clothes, they can drift in through an open window, or, and this is the most common way, they arrive on new plants. This is exactly why you have to quarantine any new plant you bring home for at least 2 to 3 weeks before it gets to join the rest of your collection. Okay, you've found the clues. You've identified the suspect. The infestation is active. It is time to launch the action plan. We are not just treating this problem, we are going to eradicate it. Now, before you even think about reaching for a spray, the very first and most critical step is physical removal. Get that plant away from all your other plants right now. Cut off the leaves that look the worst and get them out of the house. Then it's time to give that plant a bath. This right here is your first and most effective weapon. Seriously. Take your plant into the shower or use a hose outside with a good jet setting.
A strong spray of water, especially on the undersides of the leaves, will physically blast a huge portion of the mite population right off. For smaller plants, you can even dunk the whole leafy part into a bucket of soapy water for a few hours. That'll drown them. Once you've physically removed as many mites as you possibly can, it's time to treat the ones that are left. And we have several options in our arsenal, from really simple DIY solutions to some more targeted treatments. So here's a classic, super effective, and really easy solution you can make at home. The alcohol kills the mites as soon as it touches them, and the soap, well, the soap acts as a surfactant. That's just a fancy way of saying it helps the mixture stick to the leaves and suffocate the pests. Just remember to test it on one leaf first, just in case your plant is a little sensitive. Okay, for another powerful and totally organic option, try this unique recipe. It sounds a little weird, I know, but the finely ground whole wheat flour actually smothers the mites by clogging up the little spiracles they use to breathe. And the buttermilk makes the whole solution sticky, trapping them, plus its slight acidity helps break down their soft bodies. Oils are another fantastic tool, and they're best for those really stubborn infestations. Cold-pressed neem oil is a super popular choice that both suffocates the mites and messes with their life cycle. General horticultural oil works pretty much the same way. The one key thing with any oil is temperature. Never ever spray it on a hot day. The combo of oil and intense heat can really damage your plant's leaves. This right here, this is the single most important step in your entire action plan. Repetition. Why? It's simple. None of these treatments kill the eggs. So if you only spray once, a whole new generation is just going to hatch and your problem is right back where it started. You absolutely must repeat whatever treatment you choose every 3 to 5 days for several weeks to completely break their life cycle. But what if you want to fight fire with fire? What if you could get nature itself to come in and solve your pest problem for you? Well, you can, in fact, fight bugs with other bugs. Predatory mites like Phytocoelus persimilis are the natural assassins of spider mites. You can actually order these tiny mercenaries online and release them right onto your infested plants. They will just relentlessly hunt down and eat the spider mites and their eggs. And once the job's done and their food source is gone, they naturally die off. It is a fascinating and super effective form of biological control. Okay, one final, absolutely critical step. The mites could have sprayed to the area around the plant. So after you've treated your plant, you have to clean the crime scene. Wipe down the pot, the saucer, the shelf it was sitting on, and any nearby surfaces. This makes sure that no stray mites can just hop back on and reinfect your nice, clean plant. And there you have it. You isolated the victim, you identified the culprit, you gathered the evidence, and you executed a flawless action plan. You followed the clues, you used your tools, and you saved the day. You know, being a great plant parent is really all about being a great detective. It's about paying attention, looking closely for clues, and taking decisive action when your plants need you the most. You've now got a whole new set of skills to keep your entire collection safe and sound. So the only question left is, what mystery will you and your plants solve next?